the prophet Ezekiel watched, and the bones rose up and came to life. Perhaps Yigael Yadin and his associates felt a connection with this vision as they explored the ruins of Masada and brought the story to life once again. The scroll continues, "Son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it for Judah. Then take another stick, and write upon it for Joseph and all the house of Israel." Perhaps the people at Masada also looked forward to the restoration of Israel in a later day. The scene of the Jews' historic struggle is now a shrine of Israeli patriotism and is a destination for visitors from all over the world who are interested in the early history of Israel. But this is not the end of our story. Not far from Masada, another incredible discovery was made: a series of manuscripts of ancient sacred texts known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. About 10 miles north of Masada is Nahal Hiver. 30 miles north of Masada is the site of Qumran. Qumran was occupied from about 250 BC until 68 AD, when it was destroyed by the Romans during the Jewish Revolt. Before this attack, the inhabitants of Qumran hid hundreds of their religious documents in clay jars in nearby caves. This is a model of Qumran. Its inhabitants were members of an ancient Jewish sect called the Essenes. The Essenes lived apart from other Jewish groups in austere isolation. They followed strict Jewish law. Qumran was not built like a typical village. The excavated ruins revealed a dining hall for communal meals, a bakery, and a pottery workshop. A sophisticated water system existed, as well as ritual immersion pools. Similarities with certain features at Masada are evident. Was there a connection between the people at Qumran and some of the people at Masada? Some of the texts discovered at Masada reveal the same distinctive style and subject matter found in the scrolls from Qumran. This has led many researchers to believe that people fleeing the Roman attack at Qumran also sought refuge on Masada and brought some of their sacred texts with them. One room at Qumran is called the Scriptorium. It contained long tables, where some of the Dead Sea Scrolls may have been written. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd boy found several scrolls inside a cave near the ruins of Qumran. These and hundreds of other scrolls found in nearby caves are known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is a precise replica of one of the most important scrolls discovered. This scroll contains all 66 chapters of the Old Testament book of Isaiah. The Essenes in the desert at Qumran gave special reverence to the prophecies of Isaiah because of his command to prepare a way for the Lord in the wilderness. This is one of the longest Dead Sea Scrolls, measuring over 24 feet. It has 54 columns and is written on 17 pieces of leather stitched together with linen thread. This replica is the same size and material as the original. The Great Isaiah Scroll has been dated between 200 and 100 BC. Before it was discovered, the oldest surviving Hebrew manuscript of Isaiah came from the 9th century AD. Surprisingly, the text of the two manuscripts is essentially the same, despite their 1,000-year age difference. This shows that the book of Isaiah was handed down over the centuries with considerable accuracy. This is a miniature bronze incense altar. It was discovered in 1950 at Qumran, and it is the only one of its kind. The altar has 4 horns in the corners, much like the larger incense altar known to have been inside the Temple of Jerusalem. Altars or incense burners with a similar shape have been found in ancient sites around the world, including Egypt, the Middle East, and Mesoamerica. Inside the temple, incense would have been burned on the altar twice daily at the times of ritual offerings. The perfumed smoke would rise and fill the rooms with sweet smells, perhaps also symbolizing prayers ascending to God. This is a replica of another important Dead Sea Scroll. It is known as the Manual of Discipline, or in Hebrew, the Rule of the Community. It details the daily life, behavior, religious activities, and organization of the Essenes at Qumran. It contains the rules for sharing worldly possessions and discusses blessings on the obedient and curses on the wicked. The text is believed to have been written between 100 BC and 75 BC. Several copies of the Manual of Discipline were discovered in the caves near Qumran. These fragments are some of the most breathtaking to have been unearthed in all of history. These extraordinary pieces are on loan from the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. 2 of them have been unseen by the public for many years. One of the documents is a rare appendix to the Manual of Discipline scroll, and one is one of the oldest scrolls from Qumran. They are the Words of Moses, Testimonia, Paleo-Exodus, and the Messianic Rule of the Congregation. They contain primarily biblical excerpts, sections of the sacred texts that were of great importance to the people at Qumran, important enough to be copied with care, studied with devotion, and hidden for safety when the lives of the members of this sect became endangered. This jar and lid come from Qumran. They were purchased from a dealer in Bethlehem in 1965 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. To hide their scrolls, the Qumran dwellers wrapped them in linen and placed them in jars such as this one, perhaps hoping that they would eventually be found by members who might someday return. In doing this, they kept their covenant to keep their sacred teachings secret and fulfilled their promise to preserve the books of the community. They also followed a biblical example. Jeremiah likewise placed a sealed scroll in an earthen jar so that it would continue many days. 60 years after Masada fell, another rebellion was launched to resist the Romans in Judea. Shimon bar Kokhba led this second Jewish revolt in 132 AD. This original papyrus fragment dates back to that time. A companion document is a Hebrew deed describing how 4 men will share the land they have leased. One of the lessees was named Alma, son of Yehuda. This scroll was discovered by Yigael Yadin in 1961. He found it in a goatskin bag in the Cave of Letters at Nahal Hiver, 10 miles north of Masada. Bar Kokhba conquered Jerusalem and re-established a Jewish state. But the Jews' success was short-lived, and they were defeated by Rome in a little over 3 years. The fall of Masada and Bar Kokhba's defeat marked the end of an era of Jewish history. After Rome's victory in 135 AD, Jews were banished from Jerusalem. For the next 1800 years, Jewish history would be the story of the scattered communities of the diaspora, until a national Jewish state was established once again in 1948. The discovery of the biblical writings of the Dead Sea Scrolls 50 years ago, followed by the incredible findings made at Masada, provided the returning Jews with a powerful connection to their past and to their ancient homeland. This exhibition allows us to step back in time, to view history, geography, and religion in a whole new light, and to learn from people who truly lived and died by their convictions.